Good evening. I am Clara Nightwell, and tonight I am here with Rowan Hartsteele. Some figures are remembered for their victories, others for their words,
and some for choosing restraint where violence seemed inevitable.
Tonight, we are speaking about a man whose power came from refusal rather than force.
A man who believed that discipline could be stronger than weapons. Einen Sieg is stronger than weapons.
He did not begin as a saint, or a symbol, or a leader.
He began as a lawyer, uncertain of his voice, learning power through humiliation and conflict.
What followed was not a straight path.
It was a long experiment in truth, resistance, and self-control.
His name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
And the world would come to know him simply as Gandhi. Only she is.
Rowan, let us begin before the marches, before the symbols, and before the silence became political.
Mohandas Gandhi was born in 1869 in the coastal town of Porbandar in British India.
Far from the image most people hold of him.
His family belonged to the administrative class. His father served as a local official. Order and obedience were part of daily life,
not rebellion.
As a young man, Gandhi was shy, uncertain, and deeply anxious about speaking in public.
Hard to imagine, knowing what came later.
In 1888, he traveled to London to study law. He wanted respectability, stability, and professional recognition.
Integration, not confrontation.
In England, he attempted to become fully British in manner and dress. He learned etiquette, studied philosophy, and followed the rules carefully.
A young man trying to fit inside the empire.
But the promise of equality did not survive contact with reality. And
it rarely does.
After becoming a qualified lawyer, Gandhi accepted work in South Africa. There, racial hierarchy was enforced openly and brutally.
And personally.
He was expelled from a first-class train compartment despite holding a valid ticket.
A small moment on paper.
But decisive. Gandhi later described it as a turning point, not toward anger but toward clarity.
The rules were not neutral.
Exactly. He realized that obedience alone would never grant dignity.
And that realization would not leave him.
South Africa was where Gandhi stopped trying to belong to the empire
and began to understand how power actually worked.
India and communities there lived under strict racial laws. Movement was controlled. Rights were conditional. Dignity was negotiable.
Law without justice.
As a lawyer, Gandhi initially tried petitions, appeals, and legal arguments.
Working inside the system.
They failed repeatedly. The law protected order, not equality.
That realization changes strategy.
Gandhi began to experiment, not with violence, but with refusal.
Refusal as action.
He organized campaigns against unjust registration laws. Participants accepted arrest rather than compliance.
Turning punishment into exposure.
This approach would later be named satyagraha, often translated as non-violence, but more accurately meaning insistence on truth.
Truth as pressure.
It demanded discipline, self-control, willingness to suffer without retaliation.
Not passivity.
No, it was confrontational, but morally symmetric.
Forcing the system to reveal itself.
Over time, this method drew attention, support, and hostility.
Because it could not be easily crushed.
By the time Gandhi left South Africa, he was no longer simply a lawyer. He had become a political actor shaped by resistance.
With a method tested under pressure.
And a conviction that power could be challenged without becoming what it opposed. Gandhi returned to India in 1915, after more than 2 decades abroad.
He did not return as a hero.
At first, he observed. He traveled across the country, listening more than speaking.
Learning the texture of the place.
India was vast, unequal, and fragmented. British rule rested on administration, law, and division.
Power at a distance.
Gandhi began applying the method he had tested in South Africa to local struggles. You see,
smaller conflicts first. He
supported farmers against exploitative contracts and workers against abusive conditions.
Concrete, not symbolic.
These campaigns showed that disciplined non-cooperation could produce results.
And that ordinary people could participate.
Gradually, Gandhi became a national figure, not through speeches, but through presence and consistency.
A different kind of authority.
He simplified his life deliberately. Dress, food, routine, all became political choices.
Visibility through restraint.
By the end of the 1920s, his method had moved from the margins to the center of the independence movement.
The experiment was no longer small,
What had begun as personal discipline was becoming collective resistance.
and the stakes were rising.
By the early 1930s, the distance between protest and confrontation had disappeared.
The method was no longer theoretical.
Gandhi called for mass non-cooperation. Taxes were refused. British goods were boycotted. Authority was challenged openly.
Without weapons.
The Salt March became a turning point. A simple act, walking to the sea to make salt, exposed the absurdity of imperial control.
Law reduced to symbolism.
The response was predictable. Arrests, beatings, imprisonment. Tens of thousands were detained.
Suffering made visible.
International attention followed. The empire struggled to maintain moral legitimacy.
Power under observation behaves differently.
Yet the method revealed its limits. Not all participants maintained discipline. Violence erupted in some regions.
And that changed everything.
Gandhi suspended campaigns when violence appeared, even at the cost of political momentum.
Principle over progress.
This decision frustrated allies and critics alike. Many saw it as impractical, even irresponsible.
A movement slowed by conscience.
But for Gandhi, the method was inseparable from the goal. Independence without moral transformation was hollow.
Freedom could not be built on contradiction.
The struggle was no longer only against an empire, but against impatience, fear, and anger within the movement itself. The outbreak of the Second World War changed the terrain of the struggle. And surrender into the thing that it all, the youth, the chorus, and the this.
Peace. Garijana.
Britain demanded Indian support for the war effort, while postponing any clear commitment to independence.
Participation without sovereignty.
Gandhi rejected this arrangement. He argued that freedom could not be delayed in exchange for promises.
A moral position in a strategic moment.
The Quit India movement followed, a call for immediate British withdrawal, downturns.
Which the empire answered with force.
Gandhi and other leaders were arrested. The movement fractured under repression and isolation.
Leadership from prison.
At the same time, internal divisions deepened. Religious tensions grew. The idea of partition gained momentum.
A unity already under strain.
Gandhi opposed partition fiercely. He believed independence without unity would be a moral failure.
But history does not always follow conviction.
Negotiations accelerated after the war. Britain was exhausted. Withdrawal became inevitable.
The empire retreating.
But independence arrived alongside partition. Violence followed. Millions were displaced. Hundreds of thousands died.
Freedom at an unbearable cost.
Gandhi spent his final years moving through zones of conflict, fasting, negotiating, and pleading for restraint.
Trying to hold together what history was tearing apart.
India became independent in 1947, and it almost held shoulders.
But Gandhi did not celebrate as others did.
He spent that day fasting, mourning the violence that accompanied freedom.
Independence had arrived fractured.
Partition unleashed mass displacement and communal killing. Neighbors turned on neighbors. Entire regions emptied and refilled by force.
A human cost measured in millions.
Gandhi moved between cities and villages, attempting to calm violence through presence rather than authority.
Authority without command.
He fasted publicly, placing his own body at risk to force moral attention.
A dangerous form of persuasion.
To some, he was a conscience. To others, an obstacle to decisive action.
Passions is rarely popular after war.
Criticism intensified. Nationalists accused him of weakness. Former allies questioned his relevance.
The method had outlived its consensus.
On January 30th, 1948, Gandhi was assassinated in New Delhi.
Killed by a fellow Indian.
The act exposed the depth of internal conflict that independence had not resolved.
Violence did not end with the empire.
In death, Gandhi became a symbol far larger than the man he had tried to remain.
A symbol he himself resisted.
His ideas traveled globally. Civil rights movements, anti-colonial struggles, and protest cultures adopted his methods.
Often selectively.
Non-violence was admired, but discipline was harder to sustain.
Suffering without retaliation is not an easy inheritance.
Gandhi left behind no system of government and no blueprint for power.
Only a method and a warning.
That means his legacy remains unstable. It demands interpretation rather than repetition.
which keeps it alive.
The question he leaves is not whether non-violence works,
But what kind of person is required to sustain it?
and whether a society under pressure can tolerate restraint without mistaking it for weakness.
Those questions did not die with him.
They resurface whenever power faces refusal. Knowing that,
Before we reach the end of tonight's program, let us take a small pause and welcome Margaret. Margaret, for those who want to understand Gandhi beyond the image and the slogans, where would you invite them to continue?
Thank you, Clara. Gandhi is often reduced to symbols, but his life was shaped by difficult choices and tensions. A clear and thoughtful place to begin is Gandhi. A very short introduction by Bhikkhu Parekh.
So it looks at the man as well as the movement.
Yes, it explains how his ideas emerged from real conflicts, and why his method was as demanding as it was influential.
That feels important, especially after everything we explored tonight.
Some lives are better understood when we allow their contradictions to remain visible.
Thank you, Margaret, for sharing this moment with us tonight.
Thank you, Clara. It was a pleasure.
after Gandhi's death, the world began to simplify him.
Simplification is often a form of distance.
His ideas were turned into slogans, his discipline into symbolism, his doubts into certainty.
Which is safer than confronting the full weight of his choices.
Gandhi never offered an easy path. Non-violence demanded restraint when anger felt justified.
Restraint is rarely celebrated,
His life suggests that power can be challenged without being mirrored.
but also that this choice carries a cost.
Gandhi did not resolve the tensions of his time. He stood inside them.
Which may be the more honest position.
What remains is not a model to copy, but a question that resists closure,
How much discipline are we willing to accept in ourselves?
and whether refusal can still be a form of strength.
Thank you for staying with us tonight. And thank you, Rowan, for guiding us through a life shaped by restraint rather than conquest.
Thank you, Clara. Some lives continue not because they are finished, but because they remain difficult.
If this conversation stayed with you, you are welcome to like, comment, and subscribe. You will find other episodes here where history, ideas, and power are approached slowly. Until next time, stay with us.